Hey folks, coming to you with an update on some of our health and safety protocols as it relates to the changing situation around the COVID-19 pandemic. It's the first week in February, and I want to give you an update on the decision that our Coronavirus Commission just made, which will be the case for our worship patterns for the remainder of the month of February. At least that's the plan as of right now. So just for a little bit of context, back in March, almost a year ago, when the pandemic began, we shifted everything to online only. And then over the summer, we moved into step 2 of our COVID plan, which was Sunday mornings were online only, but outdoor worship was able to happen. Our outdoor Vesper services were having usually 2, occasionally 1 per month. Then in October, we continued to stay in step 2 of our overall plan, but for Sunday worship, we began a hybrid model where we had some people in the room, in the actual sanctuary, with all sorts of protocols around being masked and distant and being seated intentionally by the ushers and dismissed out multiple exits. We did that from October through Christmas, and then the Sunday after Christmas, and then the month of January, both in anticipation and then also in reaction to the fact that Mobile County had moved into a high-risk categorization. Mobile County was, a high-risk category as assessed by the Alabama Department of Public Health. We made the decision to move back to online only. So we did that all through January, and we said that we would stay there until Mobile County had spent 2 to 3 weeks in the moderate or low risk category, and that has actually been the case. As January progressed, still the number of cases locally are way too high, but we do have a declining trend, and we're hitting certain other markers that the Alabama Department of Public Health uses to assess a risk category. So the decision of our coronavirus, that's all the context. I want to make sure you know that leading up to what was decided this week is that we will begin coming back into a hybrid, some in person, some online worship model for Sunday mornings for the month of February. So if you're someone who is waiting to be able to come back, this is good news. If you're someone who has not felt comfortable coming in person yet, this means no change. So it allows room for various different points on a spectrum of comfort and safety. Now, we're going to return back, but things are going to be just slightly different than they were from October through December. We've got a few other added safety precautions here in the sanctuary. The first will be that we will now, at least for the month of February, we're going to limit the number of people total who can be in the sanctuary for the worship service at 50 people. That's the number that the Alabama Department of Public Health suggests for safe, distanced, masked indoor gatherings when you're in the moderate risk category, which is where we are currently at the point that the Coronavirus Commission made the decision and at the point that this video is being recorded. We don't want to change that number back and forth, week after week. We just want to set it for the month. So 50 people in the sanctuary total. So that includes the worship leaders, myself and Anna and Randy and musicians, Liam Harper up in the sound booth, and our ushers as well. So when you add all those up, that may mean that it's more like 40 folks who don't have a particular role to play who are coming to worship. Now, just a few things to know about that. From October through December, there was only one Sunday where we exceeded 50 people. So though we have this limit, our hope is those who had felt comfortable coming will still be able to come, and we won't turn anyone away. Once we reach 50 people, the ushers will be counting to make sure, once we reach 50 people in the sanctuary, then we will invite folks to go to the fellowship hall where we'll have the service on our closed circuit TV. You'll still be able to hear everything, and you'll be still physically in the church building and with others worshiping, spaced far apart. So that's just something to be aware of. If you're worried about it, then get here a little bit earlier to not just save your seat or have a seat, but also to be counted in that first 50. We're not doing a reservation process as some other churches are doing because we know not everybody will necessarily be able to navigate that. We just want you to know 50 people. After 50, no one's turned away, but we may move you if you get here after we hit the 50-person mark to the fellowship hall. Again, that only happened once, that we exceeded 50 people in worship, and that was the lessons and carol service, the last Sunday that we were gathered together. So just want you to know that. The other thing is, as you know, we started out skipping every other pew to allow 6 feet apart. And then as numbers were growing in the fall, we actually started placing 2 empty pews between seats. So we created 10-foot social distancing. That's still going to be the case, but we're also going to now stagger. So rather than seating on the outside of this pew and the outside of this pew, they're going to be staggered so that even if a family spills towards the center, they're not spilling towards two centers coming together. We want to leave plenty of space. So that's going to be the case as well. All of our services are live streamed on Sunday mornings on YouTube and Facebook, and so the vast majority of our worshipers are worshiping online, and as I said, none of that will change. We'll still continue to do that. For the Sundays, at least for this first Sunday in February, and I anticipate it'll be the case in March as well, when we have communion, we will not celebrate communion during the service. Rather, we'll have a video that will go live right after the service concludes so that you can go home and celebrate the sacrament of the Lord's Supper. If you were in person, you can go home and celebrate the sacrament at home with a brief video that's just the communion liturgy. If you're worshiping at home already with online worship, then you'll just conclude one video and that live streamed one, and then you'll start the pre-recorded communion liturgy. I hope that makes sense. We'll explain that on those Sundays. Like this Sunday, you can see we have the sacrament of the Lord's Supper will be part of what we'll do. What else does this mean? Also, coming soon, we will begin our Wednesday Lenten worship services at noon. And the decision was that whatever we're doing for Sundays is what we'll be doing for Wednesdays as well. So that means those Wednesday services will be online, live streamed, and up to 50 people allowed in worship, in person in worship. I hope you know, and I think it comes across as we welcome and talk and plan and lead worship, that we're really trying to be as intentional as we can to think about this as one worship service for one body that is just in multiple places. So even though some people may be coming back to worship, that doesn't mean that in any way you're a second-class worshiper when it comes to online worship, if you continue to choose to be at home during this. In fact, we thank you, and we're glad, because the more people that do stay home, it makes it safe for all of us. Certainly, we hope that anyone who is in a high-risk category will stay home, and you know what those categories are. The good news is now we're beginning to have more and more of our church members vaccinated, and if you haven't done that yet, I certainly encourage you to do so. Be sure, obviously, right now, at the moment we're recording, the state of Alabama is doing 75 and older, but starting February 8th will be 65 and older. Educators are able to, many people through their employers are able to. So that's something that's important. That's going to be one of the marks that we need to hit as we look at moving not out of step 2 into step 3 and 4 of our returning to normalcy after COVID. So our outdoor Vesper services will still continue. Our outdoor activities on Sunday afternoons for children and youth will still continue. All right, so that's all. I want to make sure you understand that. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me or to any of the members of our Coronavirus Commission. That's Anna Fulmer-Duke, Randy Sheets, Dale Hare, Leslie Sweeney, and Susan Baker. So any of us can answer any questions you might have about this. While I've got your attention, real briefly, we'll make a separate video, but pay attention to the updates next week that we'll be telling you about Ash Wednesday, because we're really excited. Speaking of worship patterns and new things, an outdoor Ash Wednesday worship service at noon. And the exciting part about this is going to be a joint combined service for all of the Presbyterian Church USA congregations in Mobile County. So we've got, as of right now, a number of churches, and we're hoping to hear in the next few days a confirmation from a few others. We'll have worship leadership and music from different congregations. We'll gather together, not our whole presbytery, but the churches in our presbytery that are in Mobile, and not just the city, but even the county, gather together. We're hosting it physically at our space. There'll be an online version as well that will go live that day. The online worship service, similar leadership, but it's going to be hosted in the sanctuary. The video will be recorded in the sanctuary of Government Street Presbyterian Church. So both of us are sharing in hosting and then in leadership along with all the others. So more about that to come, but right now I want to make sure you know about these changes for February, and our plan is for the month of February. Even if things start getting really good, we want to try to be consistent and not change things week after week after week. So for the month of February, we will be in this new step of returning back to hybrid worship, 50-person limit, staggered seating on the outside of each pew. So thanks, and I hope to see you when it's safe to do so, and certainly to see you online. We're grateful for our worship attendance that has continued to be strong and healthy in the midst of this difficult and trying time. It just means it's happening in a different way. And so thank you all for being a part of that. See you soon.